and our insider from the insiders, our man James Ham, as we gear up for a second night of a back-to-back for the Kings Hammer. Los Angeles Lakers are in town. There is so much regarding the Sacramento Kings that we really haven't spent a ton of time covering. Let's go to a name that we haven't mentioned, but we have been eager to, Hammer, and it's Dylan Cardwell, who is very clearly the Golden One Center's new favorite player.
Yeah, man, I've never seen anyone walk in the door and just be such a showman and try to get the crowd on their feet, like, intentionally the entire time. He's so much fun to watch. You know, he had the play last night where he got clocked. He fell down. He did like a somersault and popped up like he was Willy Wonka. Like, you're like, bro, what are you doing? Like that just weird. And he's got his hands up in the air and the crowd's cheering.
Meanwhile,
I think
Malik is nose to nose with the guy who just fouled him directly behind him, and he has no clue what's going on.
Yeah, so I love this aspect of him, but I love the player that he is. You know, going out there and getting 9 rebounds, getting 9 or 10 rebounds, 9 points. Like, between him and Max, they were incredibly effective. And so I think people should be really excited about this year's draft. The Kings did a really good job in this year's draft of finding not only Neat Clifford, who looks like, you know, worst case scenario, he's a guy on the back end of your bench. Best case scenario, he fights his way into the rotation and is a rotational guy when you do sort of turn the corner. But the Reynaud and Cardwell finds are both turning into, like, really, really interesting players that have instantly played Drew Eubanks right off the court.
I love what we see from Dylan Cardwell. Absolutely love it. I think he I don't want to say it's all they need, but he's the prototype. The way he plays is part of what I think Doug Christie's looking for this franchise and Scott Perry's looking for this franchise. You need way more skilled players to come along the way if you're going to be a good team. But just the baseline of, hey, I'm going to come in here, I'm going to be physical, I'm going to give you everything I got, and I'm not going to back down from anything. That's what the foundation of what they want this franchise to be. And it stands out like a sore thumb when you see him out there. Nobody else seems to be doing that type of stuff. I thoroughly enjoy watching him play out there.
Yeah, and you know what? It goes to show that there are types of players. Like, it's not every position, it's not every type, like, skill set, but there are types of players that you can either find as unrestricted free agents or undrafted players or G League players, or that you can draft and put in the G League and develop to become better at those skills. There are certain types of players you can do that with. I think the rim running big is clearly one of those players that all it takes is, you know, the size and athleticism to play the position, but also a motor. And if you can get a guy who maybe was underdeveloped at college or really didn't get that opportunity at college, and you think you can develop him further, like, I think that's a position. I think the 3-and-D wing is a position that you can develop. You know, you're not gonna, like, draft a player or find a player in the G League that's gonna be the next, you know, 25 per game scorer. But what you can do is you can find these types of skill sets that, you know, given the right opportunity and the right system, can actually help you long term. And why the Kings haven't really developed a rim runner forever, I don't understand. You know, the last guys we kind of saw do that with this team, you know, maybe a little bit of Rashawn Holmes, but Willie Cauley-Stein. And the Kings have gone away from that to more of a high skilled big like Domas. And again, I'm not, this isn't a knock on Domas. I love what Domas brings, but you can also have this other type of player. And I think it's really good for this team. You know, how many years did say, man, they need a Jared Cunningham. They need a Montrezl Harrell type. They need, you know, Brandon, what I was trying to blank on his name. Brandon Clark. Yeah, you need one of those types of guys. And again, Cardwell doesn't have the skill set yet of those guys, even like a Daniel Gafford. But you can see where, given a little bit of time and a couple of off seasons here, you might be able to turn him into just an absolute beast.
With the right amount of time, Malik Monk might become something in this league. And we saw him emerge from the Sacramento Kings yesterday, thanks to the slap that no one got to see. Hammer, I got really frustrated, especially after you posted his post-game press conference yesterday. It's like, man, he's saying all the right things. He's doing all of the right things. And I just, when you after watching his post game comments. Again, there was nothing earth shattering in him. It was just a guy who was like, "I'm happy to be playing basketball. I'm going to contribute however I can." Again, if you want someone who was in his situation to say the right things, he was saying the right things. Hammer, I'm still struggle with, like, why are we here with him? Like, he gets a reaction from that crowd that no one in a Kings uniform gets, and this organization could really use someone that this fan base likes.
No, I totally agree. They need that guy who just gives you the pop, like they brings the energy and that changes like all of the energy on the court. They need it so badly. But at the same time, like, look, I think, like, when it's all said and done, we'll get the full story here, a little bit more of the full story. But when you're trying to develop some sort of culture and you're trying to, you have this list of things that you're looking for and you're demanding from your players. If players don't want to listen or don't want to be part of that or don't want to take it serious, then, like, sometimes the only recourse you have is to take away the one thing they love. Because, like, look, it doesn't matter what you do, Malik Monk's still going to make 18 million bucks this year. He can make 18 million somewhere else, like for a different team on the same contract. But, like, the only way you can really impact, like somebody who, like, that runs a little hot sometimes is to take away their minutes, to take away whatever it is they love. And I know there's never going to be a question about how much Malik loves the game of basketball at all. He's a straight up hooper. He's a guy that will be dribbling a ball when he's 65 years old, just walking down the street. But that doesn't mean that the team concept has to come in last. Sometimes you got to put your foot down. You got to get guys to figure out how they fit into what you're trying to do. And I know a lot of people can say, "Hey, like, look, we don't know what Doug Christie's trying to do." But at the same time, there is a standard, and it's something that you hear Doug say and talk about all the time. This mystical standard thing that he's trying to hold players to. Just keep keying in on that, because he'll tell you when someone's playing to the standard and when he doesn't think they are. And that's something that, again, if you're trying to build a culture, sometimes, losing games, it isn't the worst thing. Sometimes allowing players to do whatever is. And so I think reining it in, sometimes it's hard and it's difficult. But I think that's kind of how we got to some of where we are today.
So the frustrating thing about that though is, and I'm not questioning Doug in this respect because he sees him every single day that he's on a basketball court. Doug Christie sees him, has to deal with him and everything. And we only see him for 2.5 hours a night, every few nights. But the frustrating thing for the fans is it sure looks like he's playing to a standard when we see him out there. He's giving his all. He's producing to a certain degree. I don't see Malik Monk dogging it on the defensive end. He might not be good enough, or he might not have the best instincts all the time, and just like any of these other guys. But I never look at Malik Monk and feel like, he's not giving his all out there on the court. And that's probably what a lot of people see when they see him out there. They're like, all right, what are you talking about standard? Because I see this guy giving his all every time he's out there.
Yeah, but the standard, if you listen to the 6 pillars or whatever it is that Scott Perry likes to have out there, the standard is not just about your play on the court. It's about everything. And so while I agree with you that, I think Malik does play hard and that Malik does play with a certain type of force, that doesn't mean that he's checking all the other boxes. And I don't think, there are a lot of players on this team that are. But, again, when you're up against it in a couple of different ways. If you're Malik, not only is like this whole idea of the standard and the 6 pillars and all that thing. But on top of that, there are a ton of guards on this team, a ton of people that can play guards that aren't guards, or that maybe are guards that you're having playing out of position just because you're a small team. And so I think it's a combination of everything. I don't think it's just one thing. And I don't think Malik has just done one thing that got him in the doghouse and then he's stuck there forever. But I do think that you have to kind of figure out how to live in this new world that is Scott Perry and Doug Christie's Sacramento Kings.
I know not everyone agrees, but I'll be really excited when one of the 6 pillars involves winning.
Yeah.
That'll be pretty awesome. But by all accounts,
I'd love to see that with a high draft pick first, because it's too late in the season.
Well, yeah, no, this season is definitely
let
lost.
This one go.
In all in all the Sacramento Kings' 9th win in 39 tries did yesterday was avoid them having the worst record in the league, because that's what they were looking at. They would have had the worst record in the league, or they would have been tied, I believe, with the Pacers had they wound up losing that game to the Houston Rockets, Hammer, who were completely disinterested in playing that basketball game last night. Fourth quarter came along. They could not have been more bored. They were ready to get the hell out of Sacramento and get to wherever they're going next.
Well, yeah, and I'm not buying this whole they got to go somewhere else thing. They like that a bus ride to the Bay Area was something that was hampering them. Like, I don't know what's going on there, but that's not a good thing. They're having like a mid-season kind of like identity crisis out of nowhere, where they've lost 3 in a row to teams that they shouldn't be losing to. And that's just way too talented of a team. But I also, like, when I watch them play, like, they're physical and they're athletic and they've got a lot to like pin your hopes to, especially on the defensive end. But they're also like, they don't have enough shooting. They don't have like a true offensive identity. Like, that team does have some problems. And, like I was sitting there watching the same game everyone else was. And when I looked up and saw Amin Thompson had scored like 31 points or whatever it was, I just, it was hard to believe. I honestly don't remember him. I remember the dunks, but outside of that, there was, sort of this weird, invisibility to some of the stuff he was doing. And that's something that that they're gonna have to develop. He's a long ways away from being like a perfect player, and the fact that he doesn't feel comfortable pulling up for like 16-foot jump shots or 3-point shots on a consistent basis is a bit alarming. Most of his baskets came at the rim last night, and so I just think that team, they're still trying to figure out how do they play without Fred VanVleet. And, they might not be able to play with Fred VanVleet all season. He might show up late in the year off the torn ACL, but it sort of feels like a team that needs a captain, like a true floor general really quick to sort of get them on the right path.
Shouldn't that? I think he's not the problem at all, but shouldn't that be what Kevin Durant is? Isn't that why you bring in Kevin Durant? I know Fred VanVleet is the
not a point guard.
Yeah, but you're talking about a leader, somebody gets it straight.
You know what they need? Dennis Schroeder. You talk about a guy who fits the Ime Udoka mold. He'll literally slap somebody. They need a Dennis Schroeder. What can we work out? We can get this done.
Torrey Eason.
Figure something out. But I mean, I say that like obviously.
But your point, yeah, I think
Kevin Durant. Like who Min Thompson, Kevin Durant told me he should be there. This is where you should get the basketball. You're gonna be like, no, because you're not a point guard. No, it's Kevin Durant. Like, speak up and pay attention to what he's saying.
Well, yeah, but Kevin Durant isn't a point guard. They need someone to organize the team on the floor. I mean, Kevin Durant, even at his best, isn't a lead passing, 7-foot small forward or power forward, whatever he is. They just don't have an organizer on the court, and that's really tough. And they stop running the ball through Alperen Şengün nearly as much. Again, Amin Thompson's averaging 5.2 assists per game. Kevin Durant's at 4.5. Like, that team could really use like a floor general. Like they have leaders. I'm not concerned about that. Whether it's a Steven Adams type player or name that veteran. They even have Aaron Holiday. Aaron Holiday, is it just me? Aaron Holiday on the floor looked like Terrence Davis was playing for that team. Like I don't know what it was, but he looked just like TD out on the floor. So like very interesting to watch. But yeah, that team just doesn't have a again, with Van Vliet out and with Shepherd just not really a point guard, just an undersized scoring guard. They don't really have that person like establishing who and what they are from one possession to the next.
I'm looking a little bit at Ime though. Ime, you gotta figure something out. Not every team is gonna have everything. There's gonna be some deficiencies on the roster or some bad breaks. Obviously, you get with a guy like Van Vliet going down, but it can't. That's part of coaching, right? Like, okay, we don't have our point guard. How do we figure this out as opposed to just me mugging everybody every time? Like, figure this out because you might not get a point guard. You're just gonna say the season is a wash because Van Vliet was out. You're supposed to be trying to win a championship. So, and I think one of the things he does is he puts the ball in Kevin Durant's hands to bring it up more than he should. Sometimes you got to empower a guy like Shepherd to be a point guard, empower Aaron Holiday a little bit to be that guy, to at the very least bring the ball up the floor and get the ball to KD where he wants it, where he needs it, as opposed to being 25 feet away from the basket.
Yeah, and again, I think that they will figure it all out. But asking Amin Thompson to be your starting point guard, he's more of like a Ron Artest style small forward than he is a point guard in my book. I mean, clearly more athletic than Ron, but just sort of the mauler. And he's got a lot of growing to do as a player. And again, Reed Shepherd, like I don't think that I've seen a player get picked on defensively like Reed Shepherd does since maybe like Jimmer. Like people just look at him and think, oh man, I'm going to go right at him. And then you watch some of the tape and it's like, holy cow, man, you're not even in the ballpark of what it is to be an NBA defender. Really tough.
As the Rockets beat continues with James Ham here on ESPN 1320. Hammer, I just posed a fictitious trade of Dennis Schröder to the Houston Rockets. What do you know about what went on at crypto.com a few days ago? I guess it's a few weeks at this point.
I heard that Dennis made his way to where the Lakers were hanging out. Like, I don't think I don't know if it was in the locker room or it was in the hallway. I don't exactly know what happened there. But I was watching that game and thinking, Dennis Schröder keeps telling him he'll meet him after the game. Like, you could see Dennis doing it. He was heated. And from everything I've heard is that Luka like incessantly called him the B word the entire game.
That would be a bitch for those that are unaware.
Yes. Like repeatedly all game long just kept calling him that. And Dennis figured out the way to get to the home locker room since he's played for every team in the league and knows the layout of every stadium, including the Lakers. And there was physical contact from what I've heard. I like whether it was open hand or closed hand. I'm not sure, but it does seem that Dennis did get to Luka and did make contact with Luka, which I think is funny. Just the way that Dennis has handled it. Just going out on the Instagram, making sure that people know that he didn't, attempt. There was no attempt. There was only success. And so, like, again, you can look at it this way. Whether the league wants to acknowledge that or not, like the word on the street is that he got Luka pretty good, and that DeAndre Ayton played defense for the first time in his career and was able to get in between them. But that I think Dennis Schröder did what a lot of people in the world would like to do, and he got a good lick in on Luka.
Can you imagine Luka shows up with it's like a little red under his eye,
or Band-Aid, like the Malik Monk Band-Aid?
whole handprint on the left side.
If
of his
Luka
face.
had a sense of humor, he'd take the floor tonight for warm-ups with like an ice pack on his face. Just come out with like a piece of steak on his face.
Luka, yeah, he says a lot. He says a lot. I'm surprised it took this long for something like that to happen. But
yeah, I kind of am too, because he does it all game long, whether he's talking to the official or he's talking to somebody else. But clearly, there is a whole bunch of bad blood between those two from international play. And, like Luka may have won the war there, but he lost. Well, he may have won the battle, but he lost the war in international play. And Dennis got the best of him and, won not only a ring or whatever they call it in Eurobasket, but also he was the MVP. And so there's bad blood. That's all we know. And, I think it's probably a good thing that Dennis isn't there tonight, because that would be even more bad blood in the situation that's kind of brimming over a little bit. So good stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, now it's all starting to make sense. Yeah, they were going to take care of this before they played each other again.
All right. Yeah, good point.
Because damn, I wish they would have let it just appeal it, Dennis. Appeal it so you could play tonight. But yeah, Dennis won't even be allowed in the building tonight when the Lakers take on the Kings.
Yeah, he's not allowed in the building at all. And I know John Bull said, let them fight here. Hashtag
let them fight. At the Sawyer, though.
Yeah, that's right. Well, no, or some San Francisco hotel somewhere.
Well, I
don't know, since there are no hotels in Sacramento. Yeah, I would say this. It did not sound like it was a two-way thing. It seemed like Dennis got to Luka, but Luka did not get to Dennis. So
we have worked our way through what the best scenario is. Like, does Dennis find him? They go face to face. They're jarring a little bit. Luka's like, it's talk. Like, no, I said you called me a bitch. Like, it's talk. And then Dennis slaps him. Or does Dennis spot him, walk straight to him, no words said, 5 fingers to the face? I think the second one is better. I think he just it's 48 games to talk. You've had so much to say. Boom. You want to go?
Yeah.
I told you I was going to beat your ass.
I think,
but
like,
he has the accent, so he says it more distinct. I told you I was going to beat your ass.
Yeah.
Says it more distinct.
Okay.
Yeah.
With a German accent.
Yeah.
I think it's funny, too, because I was able to ask Doug, because Doug, as much as Doug is known for being a really good basketball player and part of the 2002 Sacramento Kings, Western Conference team.
His play is a punch.
His most famous play is punching Rick Fox. And, he's known for that, and just sort of the hatred for the Lakers. And I think it's interesting, number one, that it was the Lakers, but number two, that, Doug is the guy who's standing up there. And, I like it. He said, we ride with Dennis. That's it, period. Like, that's it. He's our guy.
And he said that because you can't say, who hasn't wanted to slap the hell out of Luka Doncic a time or two?
Doug, if you know what's going on, like we all seem to do, you know what's going on, and that footage of him at the press conference talking about it, he was almost giddy. He was almost like, yes, not only have I been waiting for this all year long, somebody should slap somebody. I've been waiting for it to happen to a Laker. I bet Doug was ecstatic about what happened. Not about him getting suspended, but it actually happening. Like, yeah, hell yeah. He probably told him where he was at. Go get him.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt that. And that's kind of what Doug's been asking for. Like, Doug had to tiptoe because he doesn't want to get fined by the league. But yeah, it was definitely one of those situations where you've got to, watch your words. But also, hey, there are players that don't stop talking. And, we come from a world where, 20 years ago, you didn't talk like that. And if you did, there was going to be some words back and possibly getting popped. Like, the NBA is not that world anymore, but on occasion, sort of turn into it. So
Doug was funny last night. Doug got a tee last night, and he gets a tech, and he's standing there with his arms crossed, and the camera comes back to him, and he is just very calmly MFing whatever just occurred, because he is not whatever got him in the technical hasn't calmed him down. He's still cussing, and the whole time the camera's on him, he's just and he's chewing his gum and he's looking and he's making sure like he's not going to get a second technical. And the whole time the camera's on him, he's just there, furious. All right, DC.
I'm waiting for Doug to get thrown out.
If Doug gets thrown out, it's going to be epic.
Yeah, it feels like he's been close a couple times. I want to see him he's had enough.
Yeah, I also like it's okay to be that guy and get thrown out of games all the time when you're making a standard NBA coaching salary.
No.
Doug didn't get the big bucks, so maybe he's got to wait 2 years before he starts laying into people and getting tossed and getting hit with the big $5,000 fines and stuff. But yeah, I think this team they do need to start picking up some more technicals like they have recently. I don't think it's a bad thing. Like, show some fight, show that you're engaged and that you're 100% in on what's happening.
All right, we'll come back. We will shift gears. We do have more basketball tonight with the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Lakers at the Golden One Center. And we've got some trade rumors. This one involving Memphis with what appears to be some very specific guidelines. We'll get James Ham's thoughts on a Mark Stein report that popped up over the weekend with either one Casey return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Clear. We'll go about 15 more minutes, Hammer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I don't blame Dennis. Like,
watch your mouth, Luka.
Hmm?
Yeah.
I wonder if Luka calls someone a bitch again. Like, has he learned his lesson? And can you say back to Luka, hey, man, don't make me get Dennis. Hey, don't make me get Dennis, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Outside of just the fact that he's one of the great pure scorers ever, there aren't a lot of redeeming qualities to Luka.
No. There. He had a brief babyface turn after the trade. Very brief.
Yeah. You got humanized a little bit.
It was as brief as John Cena's heel turn.
He did the opposite. He went back. It's like, no, actually, guys, I am a jackass.
Yeah.
So what happened with the snack shack? Friday I left, there were a gang of chips in there and some things here and there. Today, everything's gone. I refuse to believe that everybody just ate everything up.
I think you might be wrong. We have a bunch of kids in the promotions department. You know how kids eat, man. Like, they're all kids.
Were they here on Saturday and Sunday?
They might have been.
Bro, are you taking 5 bags of chips in your pocket?
Yeah, there's nothing there but like ketchup.
Nobody taking the Crystal Light, though.
Hang on, man. Some of y'all hoes be on your way out going, you know what? Let me grab a little bag for the road.
Well, I don't know. I don't know who that is. That ain't me.
I do it. Do you know how many times? Look, do you know how many times I would have to do that to clear the whole thing?
I'm just saying there's 4 or 5 of them over there.
What are you siding with them for?
I'm not siding with them.
No.
I
don't like that.
I'm not siding with anybody. I'm offering a potential explanation as to where all the chips went. I think all them kids over there eat them all.
No, I think they got.
And as
well, maybe they did that too.
As someone who for 2 years plus filled up the fortress of Snackitude and watched it get emptied out by the dude wearing number 80 over there, I'm not sure that you're the guy who should be asking who ate all the chips.
I will say whatever I want to, and I'm not even really tripping. I'm just saying, there used to be
honor in the game.
I didn't wipe it out in a day. There was like 20 packs of chips in there.
Me and Casey used to get accused of stealing for snacks being gone over the course of a week. Now it's one day.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And once again, I don't think that's what happened. I think they got
Yeah, I
rid
don't
of
know
those
what
snacks.
happened. Maybe they did that too.
Because there's nothing but packs of ketchup in there.
Well, if the kids took it, they'll be gone this weekend too.
What are you eating right now? It's the ketchup packet. That's all we
Mhm.
got. That and the zero sugar Sprite.
Oh, see, there's Leezy getting in here. Joe Brazil would never. Leezy was probably with him. You were probably
say,
accomplished,
Leezy was
Joe
Leezy.
over.
Brazil, I think Joe Brazil provides the snacks now.
Well, he needs to get back to work.
Yeah.
That's the big boss man, Joe Brazil.
Shout out Cam.
Shout out Kim always. She's not dead.
I think Gio is the one.
That's it.
I think Gio is who orders all the snacks.
We're coming back, Hammer.
All right.
Pretty eventful commercial break over there on YouTube if you want to go catch up on that. Lots of yelling. Lines were drawn.
Yeah, you're standing on the wrong side for some reason.
No, I didn't even take a side.
No, you're out here just
offered-
trying to give explanations. And before it
offered
used to be just like, oh, yeah, let's go get him. And now it's just like, oh, let's hear him out.
I just offered a potential explanation as to where all the snacks went. While
While Kenny's over there eating chips, like, where did they all go?
I wish. Look, here's the thing about me. I'll tell you what I take. Yeah, I'll take them home. I got an hour drive home. I'll take a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos on the road. Yes.
Yeah.
So if something's gone, I'll tell you I took it. That's how you know I did it.
So now that we've established that, Hammer, we talked, I guess it was Thursday or Friday. The report that Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies were open for business and looking for trade partners and were receptive to potential trade moves for the first time and so on and so forth. And you were able to quickly report that the Sacramento Kings are not thought to be involved in any of these conversations. Mark Stein reported over the weekend that, yes, that's true, but it could change if Memphis was interested in taking back DeMar DeRozan, Devin Carter, and draft capital. What do you know about this situation, about these conversations, about Mark Stein's report involving Sacramento, Memphis, and Ja Morant?
Well, okay, a couple of things. I haven't dug too far into what exactly Stein's report, and checking in to see, if that's what it would take. But I will tell you that, like, last week when, I reached out to a source inside the Kings and said, hey, are you guys, any chance you guys are in on Ja? It was not at this time, ... And
and we know from experience, those ... can be real loud.
They can, especially when used by 95.7 The Game. But in this situation, the ... told me, well, we're not right now, but for the right price, the Kings are open for business. And I think the biggest thing you should read into that report is that the Kings believe they have something else cooking that would require them to move DeMar DeRozan after the fact. And so that's where I kind of go with that report, that it's nice and all that, if they would listen to DeMar DeRozan and Devin Carter and, maybe a couple of future firsts, that's one thing. But the fact that the Kings are in the market where, again, we've heard like forever that everyone's available, but that's more specific. Like, the Kings have already made other moves and there is no longer a need for DeMar DeRozan at the small forward spot. That's how I read that. Now, I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but like the Kuminga rumors just won't go away. And the fact that the Kings are the only ones that are intrigued by Kuminga, and the fact that you hear this weird little, the Warriors might hold on to Kuminga till after the February 5th deadline, at like whatever. Like you guys are long past being able to play any games with this situation. Like everyone knows that you don't want him. Everyone knows that he doesn't want to be there. Everyone knows that it's gotten to a point where you lost more than you gained by him playing this season. So, like, I would still not be surprised if the Sacramento Kings end up with Jonathan Kuminga and, maybe as part of like some 3-team trade or maybe part of some much bigger deal. But that would open the door for the potential for you to like look for a new spot for DeMar DeRozan as well. Just because it's either that or he moves to the bench if you're going all in on a young front court.
So run that by me one more time, not the whole thing, but like your read is they think that they've got a good shot at already moving DeMar DeRozan. That's why they don't want to commit to conversations about Ja or
No, no. What I'm saying is that I think that there's a good chance that they already have conversations about Jonathan Kuminga walking in the door in the near future. And so, yeah, they're willing to listen to Ja Morant conversations if Memphis is going to start, if they're willing to take, a package that includes DeMar DeRozan and Devin Carter.
Got you.
So, I mean, we got 3 days until January 15th. And unlike December 15th, I actually think this one will matter where, a guy like Jonathan Kuminga cannot be traded until January 15th. Once that hits, I think there's a very good chance that he gets moved very quickly if they can move him. Or are they going to keep trying to do like this big game hunting and they're going to need Kuminga all the way up until the deadline? That might happen as well. But it just depends on, the team and whether the Kings want to stick around and wait another month for Jonathan Kuminga like they already have for like the last 4 or 5 months.
Well, there's no reason they can't. Like Scott Perry has continuously used the term, patience and exercising patience in every move that he makes. Like, you don't have to, if you're attempting to acquire Jonathan Kuminga on January 15th, yeah, you can wait a month. Like your season is going nowhere. This is one of the best things that could have happened to Scott Perry. This season is going nowhere. It has died. It never started. It died out the gate. Like, yeah, you can be patient as long as you execute something. As long as you execute something, I don't think anybody's going to fault. You couldn't acquire Jonathan Kuminga on January 15th, but you got him on February 5th. Like, no one's going to care because no one's thinking about Jonathan Kuminga this year. They're thinking about Jonathan Kuminga next year in the lottery pick and whatever remains of this franchise once those two things are in place. Nick and Max, obviously, and Dylan.
I agree with you, but the Kings have more than one trade that they need to pull off here, and they know that. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to get in like a hostage situation where you're waiting and waiting and waiting for this deal to get done before you do this deal, and that deal's predicated on some other deal, and next thing you know, you wait too long and you don't get anything accomplished. So it is, I think it's a little bit of a house of cards at this point. The Kings are trying to make multiple moves. And I said it earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings don't make any moves. And I also wouldn't be surprised if like 8 or 9 of the players that are currently on the roster are no longer here after the deadline, or at least by the time we hit summer. Like I think the roster purge is like right there. Like there's a very good chance of just like wiping out a huge portion of this roster right now at this deadline. And I know that sounds like a lot of players, but it might not be that. It might not actually look that crazy once you start getting into trades, especially when you got to remember that you can only have 15 players under contract. So if they make a one player going out and 2 players coming in trade, in order to complete that trade, one of their rostered players now has to be cut, and then another to take on the 2 players. And then a lot of times you can take on those 2 players and then cut one of those players as well. And so like, I think that there's a potential for like a major churn here of this roster.
James, do you think it's as simple as Scott Perry doesn't necessarily want to do anything as far as moves go until he gets some finality on Jonathan Kuminga? Like either he has him on the team or he's been traded. Like it seems like it feels to me like he wants to know what's going to happen with that situation before he goes and makes any other moves.
Yeah, that's sort of what the like hostage situation that I would be worried about. But at the same time, like, look, if you have an opportunity to move Zach LaVine in some trade with the Milwaukee Bucks, it doesn't include the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga, then you make that move, you know. And the problem is that you always have to remember that there's only a couple of teams with any cap space at all, and everybody is trying to rope them into every single deal right now. And so what you don't want to do is do the whole, you know, like what musical chairs thing, where all of a sudden, you know, they keep removing chairs and all of a sudden you go to sit down and somebody pulls the chair out from underneath you and you're the one who hits the floor, because that's always a possibility. And you don't want to be that team that waited too long, or they got tied up in this deal and then got kicked out of this deal because, you know, they couldn't get it done fast enough. So I think Kuminga is one of the players that the Kings are interested in. But I think more than being interested in a player on another team, the Kings are interested in having as many players that they have under contract, under big money contracts, gone right now, moving forward. And so I think, yeah, if Kuminga ends up being a King, it's because it all worked out in the end. If he isn't, it's because they were trying to work other deals and had bigger fish to fry. And the bigger fish to fry is trying to clear out as much contract as possible so you can actually reset this thing at some point in the near future. And I think that's also why you keep hearing these trade rumors where it's like, hey, you know, Toronto's really interested in Domantas Sabonis, but the Kings have told them, well, that's fine, but go ahead and find a third party because we're not taking Jakob Poeltl and we're not taking who's their point guard. They're not taking quickly. They're not taking quickly back. That they don't have interest in that, and that they're looking for short-term contracts or expiring contracts. Not
the long contract. We looked at
Big money.
It's way bigger than you think. Yeah, 30 plus million a year. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those contracts that you didn't really know was out there. And then you look at it, you're like, man, I really like Quickly, but not at that dollar amount. And again, he's not a natural point guard. He's a point guard, but he's not a natural point guard. And, you know, so I don't know how well it would work out in the end.
It feels like the Kings. Is this the case when you're in kind of that seller position? You're just kind of at the mercy of the rest of the league. Like, do they see Zach LaVine as valuable? Do they see DeMar DeRozan as valuable? Do they see Domantas Sabonis or anyone else in a Kings uniform as valuable? And the Kings really just have to work with that market. And there's not really a lot else that they could do because they're the sellers versus the buyers.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on if your players actually, you know, are wanted or not, you know, like, because it feels like, again, this isn't for me. It's not me being disrespectful to Zach, but like when you hear the comments that, you know, the Bucks are playing in this weird pool of players who have negative value, but they think can work for them and be good players for them. They just don't want to give up any draft capital. If you're a negative value player that literally, you know, isn't going to yield anything back to your team except for maybe expiring contracts, you know, that's not great. But there's also like 5 of those players that the Bucks are looking at. It's not just Zach. It's, you know, maybe it's Jeremy Grant, maybe it's Wiggins, you know, like there are other players that are making 30 to 40 plus million that other teams are trying to move off of and having a tough time doing it. And the Bucks are sitting there like, okay, we would do this. And the Kings are looking at it like, okay, well, that's fine, but we don't really want Bobby Portis for another 2 or 3 years, if that might be the case. Or we don't want, you know, we'll take 2 years of Kyle Kuzma like this year and next year, but we're not taking on anything other than that, like beyond next year's salary. So yeah, it's a tough spot to be in because, again, we talk about this all the time, but every team in the NBA is looking for something different. And they're all in different situations, whether it's win-loss total or whether it's draft capital or whether it's, you know, just salary cap situations. Everybody has something that they want out of the trade deadline. And you've got to, you know, kind of be something for everybody if you're a team like the Kings and who are selling.
Okay. Well, that's what
business is picking up.
I don't know that that's true at all.
I think it is.
I'm hearing like a ton of rumors, but who knows? Who knows?
I mean, I wonder how quickly a Ja trade comes into play, because we feel like there was a similar playbook run with the Trae Young stuff, where we had heard rumors about Trae Young all year, and then all of a sudden it becomes, oh, Trae Young in Atlanta, they're working together to find a new destination, and then all of a sudden the destinations are named. Like, it all happened relatively quickly, which led a lot of us, including me, to believe that you're probably in a similar situation with Ja. For that to get public, you're probably far along in a conversation somewhere. Maybe you're inviting in some new voices, but you've had some pretty loud conversations already. But obviously, here we are on Monday. I think it's only 5 days later from when the original report broke, and nothing has happened yet. And as Hammer mentioned, we're 3 days away from the Kuminga date of January 15th, which I think he's one of one. I don't think there's anyone else who's living on that January 15th start date.
Is it the Cam Thomases, the Giddies? Is that group?
I don't know, because he signed his so late. The other guys didn't.
Right. Who was it? Quentin Grimes.
Yeah. And then you, of course, you have the trade deadline coming up on February 6th. Now the Lakers, there's rumblings. I think this was Jake Fisher who had the Lakers monitoring Jonathan Kuminga. The Lakers always kind of aim for big, so it'll be interesting to see if that's the route that they wind up going. But again, much like the offseason, it feels like Jonathan Kuminga is kind of the center of a lot of things going on right now. I don't know if Ja is. I can't put my finger on the Ja Morant situation. Like, I'm not quite. I don't know how the league feels about him. I think they think higher of him than they do Trae Young, but I can't tell you why, because of we've outlined it so many times, the decline in play, the decline in games played, and his desire to be Ja. Like, he's not changing who he is. He's not changing his celebrations. He's not changing his mannerisms. And that's something that a new team has to be willing to take on. And what's that cost you? Like, I think Stein reported, well, they're hoping for a first-round pick. And it's crazy to think, wow, Ja Morant can net you 1 first-round pick. Desmond Bane netted you 4. And the idea that Ja can net you 1 is, you hope he nets you 1, is pretty interesting.
Well, I also like just looking at that, the way that Ja's valued this season, especially the perception of him within the walls of their organization has changed so much. Whether it's like him getting the suspension from the team, or just the murmurs about people around him just being like, okay, we're done. Or the Golden State Warriors openly talking about how he just looked like he quit on the court, and they were just going at him. Like, all of those things, it really does remind me of the Kuminga situation, and like the Warriors, they squeezed this so tight, like trying to hold on to him, that it feels like they extinguish any value at all. And so, like, it's tough. If you wanted him to be a ball player and you want him to go yield you a bunch of stuff, you probably should have played him. Like, one of the necessities for fire is a spark and fuel, but it's also air. And they didn't give him any air to like go out there and be this player he thinks he can be. And so now you got a bunch of teams looking around like, all right, what is he? We still don't know. But what we do know is that you don't like him at all. And we're not going to give you anything for a player you don't like.
Well, I aired because I was supposed to let you go 5 minutes ago. So get out of here, get on the road, and get to the Golden One Center. We'll see you in a little bit.
See you guys.
All right.